some we started from scratch. So, you asked me before we started, what I enjoyed the most, and building people. I love building people. So here was a guy, he was a plumber. He was from West Virginia. Great guy. He was doing our work, but, he just couldn't make the business work. He was one of those guys that was, very good at what he did, but he wasn't a great business guy. And, I'm not college educated, but I am very self-educated. And I read all kinds of books, listened to books on tape. My iPod was never full. It never had any music on it, and it still doesn't today. It's all books. And whenever I, work out, do exercise, whatever, drive around, I'm always listening to books on tape. So I kind of learned that way. And then I learned through other people that I was working with and working around. And so what I would do is, he came to me and he said, "Hey, I got this problem. I'm about ready to go out of business. I'm going to leave town." And I'm like, "Bob, you're a great plumber. I'll tell you what, I built this company up. Let's go ahead and let's do a deal. I'm going to buy your company. I'm going to pay off all your debts, and I'm going to go buy 6 trucks. We're going to hire some people, and we're going to get you out there." And just the workload that I had alone was enough to get him started and get him going. And it was a small community, so I'm grassroots guerrilla marketing. And this is back in the day before the internet was huge. This was back in 99, 2000. So we did the official deal where I bought his corporation. I paid off all his debts, which at the time, I think he was 20, 30 grand in debt, something like that. Went to the dealership. I bought 8 brand new vans. We got them logoed up. And, down there, again, it was a small community, only 60,000 people. So when you put 8 trucks on the road with your logo and your sign on it, and it was Lane Service Company, and his logo was him as a Superman, on the side of the truck, it was really cool, really visible. We put him on the road. We put the word out to all the realtors in town, all the property management company in town, all the builders. And he was able to recruit people to fill those trucks. So I financed the trucks, 0 interest at the time. I had a dealer who was a good friend, and they were doing the 0 interest stuff. So we financed all the trucks, and instantly, literally in 30 days, he went from one truck to 8. I hired him an office manager, which he never had, got him set up with QuickBooks, and I put him in a position and coached him on how to lead, delegate, manage, and put systems in place in his business. And, back then, you didn't hear a lot of talk in small businesses about systems and about organization and about leadership. So that was a new concept to a lot of tradespeople. So one of my goals as a builder was to be more efficient, to make more money, and to really capitalize on what was going on. I took it on myself to help my trade partners become more efficient at what they did. So I started coaching them in their businesses and teaching them how to run a business and how to be a business owner, as opposed to, just working in their business. So that's literally how we did it. I just, did a stock corporation purchase, paid off his debts, went to the dealership, literally signed for, I think he already had 2 trucks, and we signed for 6 brand new ones. We went out and bought all the tools, the shelving, lettered them up, literally all this in 30 days while he was recruiting people from another plumbing company that was shutting down in the area. Again, another guy that, didn't understand how to control his business. Hired an office manager, put the books in place. She was working alongside my office manager and was trained by my office manager. Got all those systems set up, and then started, just started rocking and rolling. And he literally went from, 150,000 a year to 800 like in a year, in terms of revenues. And I think it was 3 years later, I sold the company back to him, and he's still down there to this day, rocking and rolling.
Nice. So did you have any concerns though, as far as, he wasn't able to manage that business, and you were going to coach him, right? But did you have any concerns that he wouldn't be the right person to be able to run and lead that business and be able to do those things, and that it would suck up a lot of your time trying to keep that afloat and trying to coach somebody that maybe wasn't the right fit for being that person to be able to handle that kind of thing?
No, not at all. I kind of knew he had the ability. He just didn't know how to do it. And that's where you have to discern when you're working with people. Like probably some of the biggest mistakes I made earlier in my career were trying to take people that I thought, or even they might have thought, could go to the next level, but they really couldn't. And wanting to take anybody and help anybody get to the next level. I had an office manager, bookkeeper that worked for me, the entire time down there. And she was very good, very loyal. I offered to pay for her college to go to school and finish her accounting degree. She only needed a few classes. And she wouldn't do it. Instead of doing an hour a day at lunch, she chose to go home and watch soap operas. I had another superintendent that worked for me, or actually he was a carpenter, lead carpenter working for me. And I had him in a box truck, 24-foot box truck with every tool known to man. It was him and a helper. And, I would send him out and he would do the whole job turnkey. And we would just, job to job to job. And I said, you know what, Larry, I really think you can make a great project manager. And I think you can make a great superintendent. And, he thought, oh, wow, that sounds good. I'm going to go and drive a truck like Greg and I'm going to, run all these jobs. I don't have to swing a hammer. Well, he failed miserably, and he ended up going back and saying, man, I really enjoy working with my hands and all I got to do is what I got to do. I don't have to worry about all these other guys. And I remember it was one of the funniest things ever. So we were training him on how to be a superintendent. And back then you're running, $800,000, $500,000 construction projects. You got a lot going on. So he shows up to one of the jobs one day and he calls up, the vice president of our company and says, man, I got the plumbing, I got the plumber here, I got the concrete truck here, I got the painters here, I've got, the electricians, what should I do? And he's like, jump for joy. They all showed up, celebrate. So anyways, long story short, a lot of times we want to help other people get to the next level, but a lot of times other people don't really want to be at the next level and they really aren't meant to be at the next level. So you really have to discern that early on. And the way I discern that is I let people come to me. And anybody that I helped that ended up successful, they all came to me and they said, hey, I want to do this thing. So then I would take them under my wing and go. Anytime I came to somebody else and said, hey, I think you should do X, it didn't work out so well. So that's really one of the ways is if somebody really wants it bad enough, they're going to come to you and they're going to say, hey, I don't feel like I'm doing enough. I feel like I've got more in me. I just don't know how to do it and I need help. And that's how all of those things happen with, 8 of the 10, I guess it's about 12 different companies now, but about 8 of them were all that way, where it was somebody who was already in the business, either as an employee for a company or they had their own company. And they said, hey, I want to do this. And I just took them under my wing and I coached them and they did it. All I did was get on the phone and coach them. So, I mean, I didn't even have to really get into the day-to-day of the business. I would just talk to them every morning, every evening, and just kind of coach them. And I would look over their financials, look over their books, help them with an action plan, goal setting, keep them accountable, things like that. So that's kind of how.
Nice. So they come to you because they maybe knew that you've done that before, or they've just seen what you've done with your own businesses?
Yeah, a lot of it. So again, it was a small town, so I was pretty high profile. So, people knew what I was doing. They watched how quickly I grew my company, my building company. I mean, again, it's like you said, this has been a 21-year journey, right, for me. And a lot of people, when you hear what I've done, it sounds like it's just, wow, how could you do all that? Well, it's 21 years. And down there on the Outer Banks from 97 to 2005, when I did the bulk of the growing of my building company, people noticed that. I mean, it seemed like to them overnight, we had trucks and signs everywhere, for our construction company. And again, it was guerrilla marketing. The trucks and signs were everywhere for a reason. And, I bought full page ads in the Yellow Pages back then. That was the medium. We were on TV. I was involved in every community organization you can imagine, sponsoring every event, so it was grassroots guerrilla marketing, back then to grow a service company, like we were. And then it became land positions. That's how we grew as a building company. And new construction was securing the land, kind of like in the flipping business, you got to secure the houses and control the real estate. So so it was people just watching what I did in the nonprofit sector. So I was on a lot of boards. I was involved in a lot of community organizations. I was very active in my church, and I would do a lot of big events and things like that. So people knew that I was a guy that I made things happen. If you ask people about me, if you describe Greg Dickerson, what's the one thing you say? And people say he gets things done. He makes things happen and gets things done. And, so that's just kind of what I am. So what I tell a lot of people is be careful what you tell me because we're going to do it. So if you say, hey, I really would like to do this one day, I'm like, well, let's go.